Thank you for coming back. We're going to be continuing in the book of Exodus today. We've been going through Exodus, reading the story of Moses, and we are going to be reading from Exodus chapter 3 today. I want to thank you for joining me, and let's get started. One day as Moses was tending the flock of his father-in-law Jethro, the priest of Midian, out at the edge of the desert near Horeb, the mountain of God. I just want to point out that what a contrast between Moses' life as an Egyptian prince versus a shepherd. Let's see, because as a prince, you gotta realize that everything was done for him. And then as he transformed from that and then goes into being a shepherd, he had to do everything for himself. So what a humbling experience that must have been, for Moses. But we know later that God was just preparing him. Suddenly the angel of Jehovah appeared to him as a flame of fire in a bush. When Moses saw that the bush was on fire and that it didn't burn up, he went over to investigate. And then God called out to him, "Moses, Moses." "Who is it?" Moses asked. "Don't come any closer," God told him. "Take off your shoes, for you are standing on holy ground. I am the God of your fathers, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob." Moses covered his face with his hands, for he was afraid to look at God. Now, we need to understand that God may use some unexpected source of communication with us. Many people in the Bible experience God in visible form, although not necessarily in human form, if that makes sense. For instance, Abraham saw the smoking fire pot and the flaming torch back in Genesis 15. Jacob wrestled with God back in Genesis 32. And then later in Exodus, God would lead the Israelites out by pillars of fire. Of cloud and fire. So God definitely makes appearances in our lives in extraordinary ways. Now, when God told him to take off his shoes, that he was standing on holy ground, this was an act of reverence. This was an act of reverence. In other words, he just had deep respect for God, and this was showing his unworthiness before God. Then the Lord told him, "I have seen the deep sorrows of my people in Egypt, and have heard their pleas for freedom from their harsh taskmasters, which are their oppressors. I have come to deliver them from the Egyptians and to take them out of Egypt into a good land, a large land, a land flowing with milk and honey, the land where the Canaanites, Hittites, Amorites, Perizzites, Hivites, and Jebusites live." This is what we know today as Israel and Jordan. Yes, the wail of the people of Israel has risen to me in heaven, and I have seen the heavy task that the Egyptians have oppressed them with. Now I am going to send you to Pharaoh to demand that he let you lead my people out of Egypt. "But I'm not the person for the job like that," Moses exclaimed. Then God told him, "I will certainly be with you, and this is the proof that I am the one who is sending you. When you have led the people out of Egypt, you shall worship God here upon this mountain." But Moses asked, "If I go to the people of Israel and tell them that their father's God has sent me, they will ask, 'Which God are you talking about?' What shall I tell them?" "The sovereign God," was the reply. "Just say, 'I am has sent me.' Yes, tell them Jehovah, the God of your ancestors, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, has sent me to you. This is my eternal name to be used throughout all generations." Now, the reason for this is that the Egyptians had many gods by many different names. Moses wanted to know God's name so that the Hebrew people would know exactly who sent him. And just for reference, the divine name Yahweh represents as the Lord, like in all caps. So when you see the capital Lord, that is derived from the Hebrew word for I am. "Call together all of the elders of Israel," God instructed him, and tell them about Jehovah appearing to you here in this burning bush, and that he said to you, I have visited my people and have seen what is happening to them there in Egypt. I promise to rescue them from the drudgery and humiliation that they are undergoing, and to take them to the land now occupied by the Canaanites, Hittites, Amorites, Perizzites, Hivites, and Jebusites, a land flowing with milk and honey. The elders of the people of Israel will accept your message. They must go with you to the king of Egypt and tell him, Jehovah, the God of the Hebrews, has met with us and instructed us to go 3 days' journey into the desert to sacrifice to him. Give us your permission. So if you're trying to explain God to others and tell about what he's done for you, tell about what he's done for people that you know. You can also use these stories like this in the Bible when you're trying to explain God to others. Because not everybody is convincing. So just remember that. But I know that the king of Egypt will not let you go except under heavy pressure. So I will give him all the pressure he needs. I will destroy Egypt with my miracles, and then at last he will let you go. See, God knew the king of Egypt would reject him. God, he already knows what's going to happen. He knows the future. And I will see to it that the Egyptians load you down with gifts when you leave, so that you will by no means go out empty-handed. Every woman will ask for jewels, silver, gold, and the finest of clothes from her Egyptian master's wife and neighbors. You will clothe your sons and daughters with the best of Egypt. See, God told Moses not only that Israel will be brought out of Egypt, but also that they will plunder the Egyptians. And by the end, the Egyptians would actually be so glad to see the Israelites go that they would send them out with gifts. Well, that's going to conclude Bible study for today. I hope that you get something from this, and I thank you for joining me. And next time we will be in Exodus 4. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.